which is this one? Yeah. Okay. I'll go out. Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to the fourth of our Veranda Concert Series this summer. I'm Joan Eckerman, Special Events Volunteer Coordinator and Weekend Manager here at the Hayes Presidential Library and Museums, and we're delighted to have all of you come out for a very special evening of music tonight. Just want to remind you of a few more activities that are coming up soon. Coming up this Sunday, we have a very special program that will be held in the auditorium inside the museum this Sunday, July 30th at 2 p.m. I'm not sure there's anybody here that would remember back that far, but John Dillinger is going to make an appearance here. We're delighted to have Jeremy Meyer, theater professor at Owens Community College, who also is an Ohio Chautauqua presenter, coming to do his presentation of John Dillinger. Again, that's 2 p.m. this Sunday, the 30th. Please come on out. It promises to be a wonderful, really exciting program. Then coming up, just a few days after that, on August 6th, we have our next Spiegel Grove Squires Vintage Baseball match. It's not the team that it says in the advertising, because that team canceled on us, but we are very blessed to have our friends from Green Springs coming back to play again, the Stemtown Stinkers. So come on out and see another showdown between the Squires and the Stinkers on Sunday the 6th. And then that very next Wednesday, the 9th, August 9th, we have our next Veranda concert with the Terra State Community College Brass Choir. And that promises to be a great program too. Just a word about restroom facilities. If you haven't already been, we have decided this evening to also open up the restroom that we have in the carriage house. There's a small door right beside the large garage doors in the carriage house. That restroom is available as well. Reason why is because you may have heard we had a little water issue over the last few days, and one of the restrooms on the main floor here, the ladies' restroom, is still being cleaned up. There are restrooms for the ladies on the lower level of the museum, so you can go down and use those as well. And the men's is fine and up and running too. But if you want to go to another restroom facility that might be on your way out, the one by the carriage attached to the carriage house is open too. Okay, that's enough announcements. We are delighted. We are absolutely delighted this evening to have these gentlemen back. They were here last year, were a wonderful hit. We got wonderful comments from people on how much they enjoyed their program. So we're delighted to have back Reverend Robert Jones and Matt Watroba.
So good to be back in this absolutely beautiful setting. Can you all hear us okay? Pretty far away out there. I especially love playing here at the Rutherford B. Hayes house because it really reminds me of the house I grew up in.
Reminds me of the house he was incarcerated in.
Robert and I met about 30 years ago or so, and they thought it would be interesting to see what would happen if they put together a guy who plays folk music and a guy who plays blues music. And we sang mostly Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard songs all night for folks. Because it turns out the twisted roots of American music are such a beautiful thing. And they are so intertwined in so many ways. Ever since that day we got together, we decided we would begin just about every show we start with this great song from Hank Williams. It's got a part for you. All you have to do is when we say, mind your own business, you get to shout it back in rhythm. I'll give you a chance to do that right. Oh, I got it. Thank you, sir. So every time I sing mind your own business, shout it back in rhythm, just like this. Why Why don't you mind your own business?
Mind your own business.
Oh, that was Ohio polite there.
Very polite, very polite.
Try it again. Why don't you mind your own business?
Mind your own business.
I said mind your own business.
Mind your own business.
If you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. Got it? My wife needs first semester, that's alright. Me and that sweet woman got a license, you five. Why don't you mind your own business? I said mind your own business. If you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. There's a lady on the party line, a nosy thing. She picks a good receiver when she notices my ring. Why don't you mind your own business? I said mind your own business. If you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. All right, Robert, play that guitar. All right? If I wanna honky-tonk around a 2 or 3, well, that's my headache, brother. Don't you worry about me. Just mind your own business. I said mind your own business. If you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. All right, Robert, play it again. Play it again. Well, I got a little lady, wears her hair up high. All the boys whistle when she walks by. Why don't they mind their own business? Mind your own business. If you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. You got one more in there, buddy? Minding other people's business seems to be high tone. I got all I can do just to mind my own. Why don't you mind your own business? I said mind your own business. If you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. But if you mind your business, you stay busy all the time. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's a little taste of American folk music. It's not folk music because of the style of it, because there are lots of styles within the envelope of folk music, but it's folk music because of the nature of it. It's the kind of music everyday folks used to make for themselves and for each other. Get a guy with a guitar and a guy with a harmonica, add some folks, you got folk music. And this is the stuff that happened before Katy Perry ever jumped off on that giant lion. This happened before Lady Gaga ever fell from the top of a stadium, before Janet Jackson ever had a wardrobe malfunction. This is the stuff that people used to do to keep themselves entertained. And if you wanted to keep that audience hooked, and you didn't have laser light shows or explosions on stage, you used the tricks of showmanship. Maybe you played a really long note. Maybe you played the harmonica upside down. Maybe you played with your nose. Whatever it took.
I gotta tell you though, folks, that's a real good way to make sure your musical partner doesn't borrow your harmonica. That's for sure.
Showmanship has fringe benefits. But, you know, as much as we like the idea of the showmanship that comes with this music, we've always been fascinated by the history, by the fact that this music brings us together. Because when we learn more about the history of this music, we learn more about one another.
In fact, one of the things that Robert and I discovered is that when you look into the history of this music, you discover that you can think of it as very different. You know, we have all these different categories of music. Just like we put people in categories, we put music in categories. But what we discovered is that if it wasn't for the sharing of all different cultures in America, we wouldn't have the music we have today. In fact, it's funny, sometimes people will say, do you guys do one of those diversity tolerance programs? And I think, you know, the truth is I tolerate back pain. I celebrate diversity because if it wasn't for the sharing of that culture, of that music, we would, in fact, you could spend a lot of time looking at what makes them different. I'm more interested in what common things we share. In this music, for instance, it's easy if you think of it as a huge tree. So imagine this big tree out in the middle of the forest. And on this tree are all the different branches of American music. You might have a rock and roll branch, a blues branch, country branch, hip hop, rap, all those different styles of music. But if you trace those branches down underneath the ground, what's underneath every living tree? The root, right? At the root, they're all pretty much at least related. And we'll give you an example. You take that song we were just doing. That song, written by the great Hank Williams, played like that, is a country song. But what would happen if I took the same 3 guitar chords, I'm playing an E major, an A major, and a B7th. What'll happen if I play the same chords, play them in the same order? This time I'll just make them go a lot slower. We'll slow down the tempo. Watch how another branch pops off that musical tree. You ready, Robert?
Let's go.
Same song. Even sing it. 'Cause if you mind your business, you sure won't be minded mine. And of course we call that branch what? The blues, right? Unfortunately lately they also use it as a Cialis commercial, but we're gonna call it the blues.
That's a different kind of blues.
Yeah, maybe that's right, different kind of blues. So you take those same 3 guitar chords and rather than make them go slow, speed them up, and all of a sudden you have yet another branch. You ready?
Let's try it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Way down in Louisiana, down in New Orleans, back up in the woods among the evergreen. Stood in an old cabin made of earth and wood with a little boy named Johnny B. Good. Little boy could never read or write so well, but he can play the guitar just like the ringing a bell. Go, go, Johnny, go, go, go.
All of a sudden, you have old-time rock and roll. So those same 3 chords just played faster, slower, in between, and all these different branches start popping off the musical tree. So it got really interesting to me and Robert to sort of look at where our music comes from. Because we discover that when we look at the roots of this music, it's amazing where these little branches will take you and where the roots will lead.
That's right, but we talk about the roots, not the branches so much, because the branches change every 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, our kids are listening to songs like, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. I mean, I love Beyonce, but that is not my gift. We're talking about the roots, the music that if you dig back far enough, you discover we're still singing those songs, oh man, literally hundreds of years later. So let's say, for example, we went back in time and we were standing in front of an old weather-beaten building. The windows and the doors flung open to get a breeze through on a nice hot day. And we hear this song that sounds totally familiar, but depending on who's singing it, it might be a little bit different. So it's a nice hot day, 1840, and you're standing outside of this old weather-beaten building, and this is what you hear.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. You might even sing. That saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. And of course, that old weather-beaten place was a church, because you really can't study the roots of American music without looking at the kind of music that was being made in the churches back in the 19th century. Because that's the music, that's where it all started. The only problem was, back in 1840, not all churches were exactly the same. You could go 500 feet down a path and hear a song very similar coming out of a different kind of church.
In fact, the same song, but this one's coming out of the barn. Because in 1840s, Frederick Douglass talked about something called the invisible church. So those enslaved people might sing that song, talk to them by the same missionaries and preachers, but somehow it comes out different. Maybe more like, oh, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Lord, I see. Thank you. We've been known to go to elementary schools and ask young kids if that's the same song that Matt and I are singing, and they go, no! And the reason they can't get it is because it sounds so different. Well, what changes that song is that in that white church where Matt is, they write it down in a hymnal. In fact, they're Methodists. They're white Methodists. The reason you know they're Methodists is because they've been singing a song for 150 years, but they're still looking at the text. The reason you know they're white Methodists is because the song always lands on the beat. Kind of amazing grace. That doesn't happen in the black church.
Makes it easier to sing with, though.
It does, because nobody wants to sing with me when I'm going. But you see, that's part of the way you learn the song. If you learn it from a book, it tends to not to change much. So your father sings, amazing grace, and you sing, amazing grace, and your son sings, amazing grace, and your great-great-great-great-granddaughter moves to Fremont and she sings, amazing grace. Song doesn't change much. But what happens when you don't write it down? You pass it down. So, your father used to sing a pretty simple version. He'd sing, amazing grace. You decide it's not fancy enough, you make it, amazing grace. Little do you know, your son is gonna fall in love with that pretty girl from Kentucky. When she sings The Baby's Asleep, she's been known to sing, amazing grace. And 7 generations later, your great-great-great-great-granddaughter, Aretha, moves to Detroit, puts on a really cool hat, and she sings, ooh, That's just 2 words. So 20 minutes later, not only have you heard Amazing Grace, but you've experienced the folk process.
And I have been to Robert's church on the east side of Detroit, where he is the minister, and those services can go on a long time, let me tell you folks, when they're singing 2 words.
You have much to repent for, yes, right. All right, yep. So, basically we've boiled down this modern American music to a formula. It's like, you think about why this music communicates so well. It's because American music is at its roots simple. You've got a lot of it based in the blues, 3 chords and 5 notes. Those 5 notes are the major pentatonic scale. In the 1920s, they called those 5 notes boogie woogie. Left hand of the piano player playing. jumper won't shine my overall. Won't you hand me down my jumper? Won't shine my overall? Well, I'm about to catch a train, one they call a cannonball. That was hot stuff in the 20s. But by the time the 30s rolled around, America was in a Great Depression. A lot of piano players moving into black churches trying to find work. And all of a sudden, black church music started sounding like boogie woogie. They didn't call it church boogie woogie, they called it gospel. Well, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, oh, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. That was like 1931. By 1935, a young man by the name of Bill Monroe had pioneered a new style of country called bluegrass, about the most un-Negro music you can imagine. 5 white guys standing around a microphone wearing cowboy hats and white suits going, yee-haw! Woo! Woo! But bluegrass has blues in it, in part because of a man by the name of Arnold Schultz, who never recorded, but taught black men who taught Bill Monroe the rudiments of blues, and partly because of a guy by the name of Lester Flatt, the guitar player who used to play what's called the G-run. Mr. Watroba, at the end of every one of those bluegrass verses, they play what?
They'd look up, smile, and go.
That's
You've
nice.
heard that before, right?
Would you do that again? Now, for you astute musical listeners, you know that's just played with a flat pick, right? So you end up with songs like, I'm going down the road feeling bad. Lord, I'm going down the road feeling bad. Lord, I'm going down the road feeling bad. Lord, Lord, I ain't gonna be treated this way. Yeehaw! Same 5 notes, same 3 chords. Then we moved to 1948, young man by the name of Ray Charles. Not to be confused with Jamie Foxx. Ray Charles has a great band. And one night, they run out of songs. He said, that's all right, baby. Just sing back to me what I sing to you. So you guys are in the band. Sing back to us when we sing to you. Are you ready? Are you willing? Let's try it. Say, oh, tell me what I say.
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 Say tell me what I say.
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 I say those are the same 3 chords and the same 5 notes, except now we call them R&B. Now it's 1955 and you got a television, a gigantic wooden box in the middle of your living room with a little tiny screen. And your little brother's got to stand there holding the antenna going, don't move, Tommy, don't move. And it's 1955. Everybody only gets 3 stations, young people. There's nothing wrong with your cable because there is no cable. So that means everybody's sort of watching the same thing at the same time. And that means on Sunday night, everybody's tuned into Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, we have a really good show for you tonight. You're gonna like this young man. He comes to us from Tupelo, Mississippi. By way of Memphis, Tennessee, he uses 3 chords and 5 notes. And he sticks his hand out and the kid goes, 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you mess with my blue suede shoes. Yeah. You can do anything, say off my blue suede shoes. Oh, Lord. Blue suede shoes. Blue suede shoes. Blue suede shoes.
Don't hurt yourself.
You can do anything, say off my blue suede shoes. Thank you very much. much.
Please only photograph Robert from the hips up, if you don't mind.
And of course, we call that rock and roll. But it didn't end there. Imagine you're in the segregated South, and if they have a show, they've got the black kids on one side and the white kids on the other side, the black kids in the balcony and the white kids on the main floor. And these 5 good-looking black kids from Detroit tour down in the South. And they've got a rope separating the black kids from white kids, but when those kids hear those 5 notes, and they hear the rhythm, they tear down the rope. They start to dance together. I got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I got the month of May. Well, I guess you say, what can make me feel this way? My girl,
My girl, my girl.
talking about my girl, my girl. You guys know that? Help us sing it. Well, I guess you say, what can make me feel this way? My girl,
My girl, my girl.
talking about my girl, my girl. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, I don't know if you were paying attention, but we just did about 6 decades of music in about 6 minutes, because one of the things that starts to happen with this music, especially when it starts transmitting quickly through radio and records, is that people start to share their music more than ever. But right at the precipice, right at the beginning of each one of those new musical styles, you can find the sharing of different cultures. And what we'd like to do is maybe, okay, good. Give you an example of an old Jimmy Rogers song. Jimmy Rogers was this great singer, didn't even live to be 30 years old, but his influence is on today's country music. Even today's, there's a reason why he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You can just tell that that old Texas sound, that old South Mississippi sound, shows up in his music. And this is one of those songs about missing home. It goes like this. I'm growing tired of the big city lights, tired of the glamour and tired of the strife. In all my dreams I am roving once more, back to the days on the old river shore. I am sad and weary, far away from home. Miss the Mississippi and you, dear. Days are dark and dreary, everywhere I roam. Miss the Mississippi and you. much.
Thank you. So get into a little Jimmy Rogers, and you hear the blues and the sad, plaintive song in Jimmy Rogers music, and you come to the Carter family, and you come to some of those great icons of American music that we think about as kind of helping to shape the music that we listen to, right? And one of the really great parts of this tradition is that we're a part of this tradition. I mean, it's a living tradition. So, in fact, my friend Matt here is really good at getting folks to sing. And you guys sound really good out there up under those trees. So, Matt, you got one that you can...
Absolutely. Before I do that, though, one good way to get rid of the blues is to win this basket right here.
Yes.
So we'll bring Joan over to pick a number. Or no, this is it. Yep. You're going to get your raffle tickets out real quick, and we're going to see if we can pick a winner. Wait a minute, I'm going to make one person happy and about 300 people really mad, so I don't know how this is going to work.
I really hate to interrupt this great music, but you all have programs out there with tickets on. So, did anybody not get a program? Anybody need one yet? Oh, there's some folks out there. Kathy. Yep, raise your hand. Nice, yeah. Wave at Kathy there. Up, there's somebody in the back there too. Wait till everybody gets a sporting chance.
I'm thinking raffle music.
Proud Mary? Big wheel? Okay, there's a lady coming up right to you there, Kathy, right behind you. Okay. Is that the winning one? We'll see. Okay, now everybody's got one. So there were just a few programs that weren't handed out, so hopefully we won't have to draw too many. I'll just read the last four digits, the last four numbers. 6812. Up, and lady's hand shot up right back there, right where Kathy just was. 6812, that's one you got? Okay, congratulations. Kevin's gonna run that out to you. It's the basket, as always, is donated by our program sponsor, the Fremont Federal Credit Union. So please thank them when you see them out in the community, or if you do your banking there, because we couldn't do these concerts without them. This particular basket is for kids. So if you've got grandchildren, great nieces, nephews, children, or if you just like to play with water games and water pistols.
If you just want to have a water pistol fight with your wife, that's nobody's
business. There you go. There are great plastic water pistols there. All kinds of fun outdoor things there for kids of all ages to do. Okay, thank you again for being here this evening, and let's welcome these wonderful musicians back.
And how about a nice round of applause for Joan?
And all the work she does here.
Joan Ackerman, she's great.
Well, as Robert mentioned, I have made it sort of a mission ever since I had the opportunity as a radio host to spend a little time with my hero. When he was 89 years old, I got a chance to interview the great Pete Seeger on the banks of the Hudson River for about a good hour and 20 minutes. We sat there and tape recorder running, banjo in hand. And he told me at that time that getting people to sing was the most important work of his life. And I thought that's really interesting, given that that guy did a lot of really interesting work. I mean, he marched on Selma. He cleaned up a river that they said could not be cleaned. He introduced the banjo to the world. I guess we can forgive him for that one, but still, his influence was huge. So I think I'm going to do a little song here for Pete. And it has a part for you. I know I'm looking at the demographic of this audience. You guys should be able to sing along with me right away. You ready? Michael rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore.
Hallelujah.
Pete would say, I don't hear ya. Michael rowed the boat ashore. Sing it out.
Hallelujah.
Michael rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah. Sister helped to trim the sail.
Hallelujah.
Sister helped to trim the sails.
Hallelujah.
Sing it out. Michael
rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah.
The Jordan River is chilly and cold.
Hallelujah.
Chills the body but not the soul.
Hallelujah.
Michael rowed. Michael rowed the boat ashore.
Hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah.
Jordan River is deep and wide.
Hallelujah.
Milk and honey on the other side.
Hallelujah.
Sing it out.
Michael rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah.
Here's a Pete verse. Michael's boat is a music boat.
Hallelujah.
If we stop singing, then it won't float.
Hallelujah.
Last chance, sing it out. Michael rowed the boat ashore.
Hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah. Yeah. It was called I Heard the Angels Singing. And I'd love to hear you guys singing this back to us. It just goes, I heard the angels singing.
Try that.
I heard the angels singing. One more. I heard the angels singing. Yeah. One day when I was walking along, I heard the angels singing. Well, I looked around and I saw no one. I heard the angels singing. What do you reckon those angels said to me?
I heard the angels singing.
Said your sins are forgiven and your soul set free. I heard the angels singing. I see one morning soon. You know, one morning soon, Lord. One morning soon. You know, I heard the angels singing. I went down to the valley to pray. I heard the angels singing. And I met old Satan down along the way. I heard the angels singing. What do you reckon that bald-headed rascal had to say? I heard the angels singing. Say you too young to die, you too old to pray. I heard the angels singing. I see one morning soon. Oh, one morning soon. Oh, one morning soon. You know, I heard the angels singing. Well, folks come running for miles around. I heard the angels singing. Just to see what the shouting was all about. I heard the angels singing. Well, just when I thought that my soul was lost, I heard the angels singing. My dungeon shook and my chain fell off. I heard the angels singing. I see one morning soon. You know, one morning soon. Oh, one morning soon. You know, I heard the angels singing. You know, I heard the angels singing. Oh, I heard the angels singing. I heard the angels singing. You know, I heard the angels. I heard the
Here's a song that was written by a dear friend of ours by the name of David Tamulevich. I love the song so much I started teaching it to people all across the country, everywhere I go. And it's just great to see this song has kind of caught on as a folk song. It's a beautiful song called Ours is a Simple Faith. If you catch on to the chorus, I'd love for you to sing it with me as well. It goes like this. Ours is a simple faith. Life is a short embrace. Heaven is in this place every day. Hope is the ground we till. Make each day what you will. Thankful for dreams fulfilled every day. You can join us on the everyday. It comes up a lot throughout the song. No room in this heart for fear. No judgment day drawing near. Trust that inner voice you hear every day. Life's not a goal or race. It's about heart and faith and living a life of grace. Every day. Ours is a simple faith. Ours is a simple faith. Life is a short embrace. Heaven is in this place every day. Hope is the ground we till. Make each day what you will. Thankful for dreams fulfilled every day. Trust is an open hand, making an honest stand, rooted here in this land every day. Live in the mystery, seeking the harmony here between you and me every day. Ours is a simple faith. Ours is a simple faith. Life is a short embrace. Heaven is in this place every day. Hope is the ground we till. Hope is the ground we till. Make each day what you will. Thankful for dreams fulfilled every day. Thank you very much.
Well, Matt mentioned Pete Seeger, and Pete Seeger was influenced by a guy by the name of Leadbelly. Leadbelly, 12. Leadbelly was a great songster, and wrote a lot of songs that, you know, people don't necessarily know where the songs came from. Played a 12-string guitar, unfortunately.
It's hard enough to tune 6 strings. I can't tell you what it takes.
Oh, Lord have mercy. But that was characteristic of his sound, you know, and he'd get a nice audience in front of him. He'd say, well, back when I was working on the railroad, we'd have those trains going down the track. And they wasn't supposed to be hauling everything. They were supposed to be hauling, you know, livestock. And so when the man would come up and the station manager would say, what you got? He'd say, well, I got sheep, I got goats, I got horses, I got livestock, I got livestock, I got all livestock. And he said, well, go ahead on then. And when you tell him to go ahead on, then the man would tell the truth. He said, I'm hauling pig iron, I'm hauling concrete, I'm hauling slate. I ain't got nothing but heavy, 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 heavy duty load. But by that time, he done went on head on. And that train that used to carry that load was a song called the Rock Island Line. Well, the Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. Rock Island Line is a road to ride. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. If you want to ride, you gotta find a lot to find. Get a ticket at the station on the Rock Island Line. Guys, ever heard that song before? Well, A, B, C, double X, Y, Z. Cats in the cradle, but it won't catch me. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. Rock Island Line is a road to ride. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. If you want to ride, you gotta ride it like you find it. Get your tickets at the station on the Rock Island Line. Well, Jesus died to save our sins. Great God Almighty, gonna see him again. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. Rock Island Line is a road to ride. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. If you want to ride it, gotta ride it like you find it. Get your tickets at the station on the Rock Island Line. Well, I may be right and I may be wrong, but you gonna miss me when I'm gone. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. Rock Island Line is a road. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. If you want to ride it, got to ride it like you find it. Get your tickets at the station on the Rock Island Line. One more time. Well, the Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. Rock Island Line is a road to ride. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. If you want to ride it, got to ride it like you find it. Get your tickets at the station on the Rock Island Line. Thank you.
Leadbelly was an amazing man. No, his nickname was Leadbelly. His actual name was Hughie Ledbetter. And he traveled this country after getting in and out of prison a couple of times. There's a long story behind that, but I can tell you this much. Two of the most important folk musicians, Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger, called Leadbelly the greatest folk singer that ever lived.
That's not too shabby.
That's not too bad. In fact, you knew when Woody Guthrie liked you because what he'd do is he'd steal from you, right? Absolutely. And I don't mean, you know, your belongings, I mean your tunes. And he borrowed this one from Leadbelly, but I'm sure Leadbelly probably borrowed it from somebody else. But I love the way this song never goes away. This is a song written by the great Woody Guthrie. When my daughter was in the 2nd grade, she's almost 30 now, but when she was in the 2nd grade, she came home from music class and she was all excited. She said, "Hey Dad, you like folk music, right?" I said, "I do." And she said, "Well, I learned this song, maybe you know it." And she sang, "This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me." And I told Katie, you know, Katie, I do know that song. As a matter of fact, that song was written by one of our great Americans. His name was Woody Guthrie. But Woody wrote 6 verses to that song, but most of us only know 3 of them. And the reason is because that song got popular, not from being on the radio, not from having the Weavers record it. That didn't happen until later. That song became popular because a school teacher in New York City decided to put it in a songbook. And those kids sang it, and the song was so powerful that it traveled not just across the country, but all across the world. And I said, you guys probably sang verses like, "I've roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps through the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding, this land was made for you and me." Sing it with me once. "This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me." So I told Katie, I said, you know, when Woody's son Arlo was about your age, he sat him down next to his hospital bed where Woody was dying of Huntington's chorea in New York City. And he said, Arlo, I'm going to teach you these 3 verses to the song Nobody Seems to Sing. And so I taught those 3 verses to Katie on that day as well. And one of them goes like this. One bright sunny morning, in the shadow of a steeple, by the relief office, I saw my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there wondering if this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. Now the next verse Woody wrote, I didn't think I'd ever see anybody sing on national television until they inaugurated Barack Obama in the very first year that he was inaugurated in 2008. Barack didn't sing the song, but Pete Seeger himself came out with his friend Bruce Springsteen. And I don't know if you remember this proud moment on television, but Pete looked right out into the camera, kind of gave a little wink, and sang this verse. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign said, no trespassing. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. Well, that side was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking my freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back, 'cause this land was made for you and me. Let's hear you sing it. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. Oh, this land was made for you and me. Music from the great Woody Guthrie.
Well, we've talked about Woody, and we've talked about Pete Seeger, we've talked about Leadbelly. Leadbelly had a tremendous hit in 1950. He was like on the hit parade. He was on the charts for 17 straight weeks or something like that. Unfortunately, he died in 1949. And I'm trying hard not to emulate his example.
No, I don't suggest you do that.
No, it's not. But this is a song you guys might know. In fact, I was listening to Sirius Radio on the way down here, and they were talking about this great song, great music in the 1950s. And this was a song that was just amazing, but it started in 1908. And in fact, Leadbelly used to sing it and used to tell a little story behind it. He used to say that there was this boy who was 17, and this girl was sweet 16, and he wanted to marry her. But in them days, you couldn't just walk up and honk the horn and have the girl run out. You had to go and talk to her parents. And so this song is about this girl. Her name was Irene, and you might know about the song. It goes, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I kiss you in my dream. Now, the way Leadbelly recorded, he wanted to get her in his dreams, not to kiss her, because he figured if he got her, he could kiss her whenever he wanted to. Sometimes I live in the country. Sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I get the great notion to jump in the river and drown. Everybody sing it. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I kiss you in my dream. Will I ask your mother for you. What she say? She said that you was too young. I wish I'd never seen your face. I wish you never was born. Well, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I kiss you in my dream. Now they got married anyway, and this boy goes out on the town. There he is all over town, gambling, rambling around. Irene didn't like that, so she wrote a verse for it. She said, well, quit rambling, quit your gambling, quit staying out late at night. Go home to your wives and your family. Sit down by the fireside bright. Well, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I kiss you in my dream. That's because the boy is out rambling. Me and my wife, we got married. Me and my wife settled down. Sometimes I get a great notion to take me a stroll downtown. Well, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I kiss you in my dream. Well, you know when a man start rambling around, girl get tired of that. Say, I'm going back home to my family. I'm gonna turn my back on you. That hurt him to his heart. He said, I love Irene, I do. I love her till the sea run dry. If I ever turn her back on me, I take morphine and die. Well, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I kiss you in my dream. Well, Matt's got a woman in Detroit. He got another one in Spain. He got one here in Fremont, but he's scared to call her name.
Joan.
Well, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll kiss you in my dream. Well, I love playing for you. Matt loves playing here too. But we brought enough CDs with us we'd like to sell to you. Well, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I kiss you in my dream. Well, Irene, good night.
Let's hear ya.
Irene, good night.
Good for you.
Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I kiss you in my dream. Thank you so much.
Always great playing for you folks. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Absolutely.